Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up next in our Cannabis Culture segment, brought to you by FinTech TV, right here from iHeart headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. Today we're joined by Ricardo Capone, CTO of Dr. Green NFT, the world's first legal blockchain on-demand botanical delivery. He leads the company vision by implementing the technologies needed to bring Dr. Green to the world. Ricardo has a passion for the cannabis industry and seeks to be a leader in the revolution for legalizing the use of cannabis on the global stage. Today, he's joined by his good friend Chloë Villano, founder and president of Clover University. She's a pioneer in the cannabis industry herself, and she's played a key role in establishing Colorado as a global leader. As an entrepreneur, executive, and business consultant, she's built Colorado's medical cannabis industry and played a crucial role in legalizing recreational cannabis statewide. She founded the Cannabis Business Association and Cloverleaf University, the first cannabis university licensed by Colorado's Department of Higher Education. Chloë has consulted for hundreds of businesses, influencing over $1 billion, my friends, in sales and creating industry standards in business practices and education. Clearly a very, very impressive resume. Trailblazers in the field. They join me today at our iHeart headquarters right here in Midtown to help me demystify stigmas surrounding the cannabis industry, its unusual evolution onto the blockchain and NFTs, and how it all fits into the global legalization of the industry. Now, sales of THC, high THC cannabis through legal regulated markets totaled $24 billion, and that was back in 2020. And it's projected to grow to $51 billion by the year 2025. Here's a fun fact. Israel has the world's highest rate of national cannabis use, with 30% of its population aged 16 and over reporting consumption of high THC cannabis in the past year alone. Interesting. Welcoming now to the show are my dear friends and experts on the microphone, Chloë and Ricardo. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hey.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for that, Zen. Really nice introduction.
Amazing.
All right, so I'm so happy that you guys are both here. You're speaking my love language in so many ways. But first, for those listeners, this all comes down to the bottom line of money, guys. The rapid growth of the cannabis industry is fueled by the increasing legalization, as we know, and use of the age-old plant for medicinal and recreational purposes. And blockchain integration, that takes this all to the next level, because that offers significant benefits to the cannabis industry, including improved supply chain transparency and enhanced security. We were just talking about this, and even more efficient transaction processing, right? A study by Markets and Markets estimates that the blockchain market size is projected to grow from $3 billion in 2020 to $40 billion by the year of 2025, and that's just 1 year away. Now, Ricardo, let's chat what you specialize in, blockchain and cannabis.
Yeah, it's a great crossover. We've started in the medical cannabis field for the last 5 years, really, and we focus on biotechnologies for human ailments. What we do is we take DNA samples of our patients and we run them into our lab, and we cross-reference their DNA profile with genetic profiles of plants. So when we analyze the cannabis plant genetic, we look at the mitochondrial genetics and the nuclear genetics. And what that gives us is a full breakdown of the constituent parts of the plant that are able to solve a particular person's problem. So if we've got a guy with epilepsy, for example, we take a swab of his mouth and we have a look at the best way or the best plants to be able to treat this particular human. So it's crossing DNA of people with plant genetics. And from there, we've built our business model. Where it gets really interesting is we discovered that the mitochondrial and the nuclear genetics, they never change, all the way from seed through to the bud until it's smoked. So that allows us to identify the plant all the way through its journey. I'm sure you've heard of seed to sale traceability before, but there's nothing quite like this, because what we're doing is we're creating encryption key pairs based on the plant's genomics. So we essentially have an algorithm that creates a key pair from the genetic of the plant, and the public key goes onto the packaging, but it follows the seed throughout the life cycle. So when the customer has the packet, or the patient has the packet of cannabis, they can scan that QR code on the outside and they can see the full history of not only where their cannabis has come from, but how much water was used to grow the plant, what chemicals went into it, how many humans have touched it, what temperature or humidity was the room at, how long was it in storage, and what percentage of nitrogen is in the packaging. All of the metrics coming out of our facility go into that software. So it gives the consumer confidence that the cannabis has been on a legitimate, regulated journey to end up in the palm of their hands.
Wow.
Also, beyond that, the regulator can take out the cannabis from the packet. They can genome sequence it, either in our lab or another lab local to them. It doesn't really matter because the genome never changes. And that genome sequence will be the private key that unlocks the public key on the packet. So it ties digitally the physical cannabis to the packaging and the information. So the data gets tied to the actual genetic of the plant, which is really interesting for the traceability side of things.
Wow, you just blew my mind with everything you just said, because, when we talk about blockchain technology and really the use cases of helping streamline and amplify these regulatory compliance processes by providing this single source of truth for all stakeholders, you just summarized it in what you do.
Yeah, well, what's really interesting, Zen, is the blockchain part of it didn't really come in to phase 2 of our development, because we had a software that we took to our regulator in Portugal. We showed it to Infomed, who regulate all scheduled drugs in the country, and they shot holes in it. They were like, well, it's software that can be manipulated. You could change the data as you're a software engineer. You could potentially be hacked. We're only hosting it on Apache servers and things like that. And they were right about all those points. And it was when we sat with our CEO, Maximilian White, who's a real visionary in this cannabis space, he suggested to me that I go and look at blockchain technology to solve that problem. And that's where I started to research a little bit more about how the blockchain could be effective. Portugal has a fantastic relationship.
I'm going to get to that in just a sec, but I'd love to hear from Chloe as well. But you are on the money, I mean, smart contracts, right? They automatically verify the identity and eligibility of a customer and calculate and collect, the appropriate taxes and update the inventory and sales records. So this fits into exactly the ethos of blockchain technology. But Chloe, you're an industry leader. Let's talk about industry leadership. So you've been instrumental in establishing Colorado as a leader in the cannabis industry. What were some of the key strategies and actions that you took to achieve this, and how can other states replicate this success is what I'm most interested in.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we looked at the problems that we were facing, and we really looked at that patients needed access to cannabis for medical reasons, and we started with medical marijuana. And so I consulted many government agencies, including the First Department of Revenue's Marijuana Enforcement Division, the Department of Agriculture, DORA, all of these agencies that came in and said, how can we create a system where we can get patients access to medicine? And so, we really listened, and we looked at other commodities that would be sold and how they would be regulated. And we started the development, and it changed rapidly from where we started to where it is today.
And boy, you've come such a long way, because, we have a few more years ahead of us before mass acceptance, if you will. But now that you've taken it to, or not you particularly, but companies like, Dr. Green NFT, by using these blockchain-based platforms, such as laboratories or certifiers, cannabis producers can now submit their product, right, if you think of it, for testing and certification in such a secure and transparent way. And we're always talking about trust, right? And the testing and certification results that are stored and shared on the blockchain, those create a tamper-proof and trustworthy record. And that's what it's all about, that can be accessed by consumers, regulators, and other stakeholders. How Ricardo just easily, so eloquently put in his first answer. Now, Ricardo, let's talk about global vision, because that's what we're really talking about, right? So you have a passion for the cannabis industry, and you really seek to lead its global legalization. That's at the heart of it all. But what steps do you believe are necessary to achieve this worldwide acceptance and legalization, and how is Dr. Green NFT contributing to the vision?
That is such a great question. And I think that the most important step, as you've pointed out, is transparency, being able to enter into markets where the government, the regulators, can be confident that the supply chain is regulated cannabis and spoofing, the introduction of black market cannabis to a legal supply chain is virtually impossible in this environment, because you can check and you can actually highlight those incidences where that happens and people can be held accountable. If we're providing a responsible platform to give patients access to this cannabis, then that's something that we are looking to do globally. And what we will do to facilitate that, with our licensing from Portugal, we are able to transact cannabis on the blockchain while using ERC 721 tokens to facilitate the transactions. Now, where that got really interesting, you mentioned smart contracts. Our smart contracts contain our cannabis licensing, and they have rights, like affiliate rights, for somebody to be able to transact our cannabis on our blockchain without having to jump through all of those hoops that it would take to go and start your own cannabis company. So if you were to begin, then I'm sure you know it's very expensive as an endeavor to get into the cannabis industry. It's almost unattainable to the small business guy to build those facilities, to get that regulation, to get the licensing, to build your distribution, to prove your strain stability. All of these key factors that go into actually having a successful cannabis company can cost a lot of money and time. With our token, a person can purchase our token, an entrepreneur who wants to enter the cannabis space, and they can find patients, they can onboard, and we can facilitate, as the regulated company, the actual growing, packaging, and delivery of that regulated medical cannabis. And so that means that more uptake of entrepreneurs who can distribute will happen through this platform, and more safety and security for the end user.
So innovative. Wow. Now, Chloe, Cloverleaf University, as a pioneering educational institution in the cannabis industry, without a doubt plays a crucial role in setting industry standards. With more than, to my understanding, 300,000 students worldwide, your university has established itself as a leading provider of cannabis education and training. Now, as the founder of Cloverleaf, the first licensed, let me say, cannabis university, how do you see education shaping the future of the industry, and what new educational initiatives, per se, are you currently working on?
Well, it's interesting because in Colorado, how we were able to really legalize in the state of Colorado first was we did the SAFER campaign. Cannabis is safer than alcohol. And that was an educational campaign where people realized, wow, you know, it has a stigma, this reefer madness, but it really is safer. People make better decisions on it than they would if they were, you know, really drunk. And so when we compared it to that, people understood from a responsible consumer standpoint, what we were trying to, you know, the industry we're trying to create. So I think education is really the foundation. Not only that, cannabis has been illegal to research up until now. So we don't have any research with this amazing plant that has so many medical benefits, economic benefits, and can do so many things for the world. So with so many people coming to the university, and I mean, we had football players coming, they had traumatic brain injury. They wanted to see if they could get help. We had people coming from all over seeking education because somehow they knew that this plant would help them. And even regulators, because they knew that this is a $1 billion underground market. And if we can regulate it, we can provide safe products and we can give access to patients.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And due to the lack of quality and safety standards in the cannabis industry, many consumers are just unsure about the authenticity and the potency and the purity of the products, right? So you are 100% right. Now, Ricardo, let's chat challenges and solutions. So what are some of the major challenges you've encountered while integrating blockchain with cannabis delivery, and how have you addressed them to ensure compliance and security?
Absolutely. Different countries have different regulations, obviously. The UK, being one of the first countries that we're launching in, has perhaps one of the most strict medical certifications for cannabis. And the vertical that you have to create in the UK consists of your WDL, which is your wholesale distribution license, and then your scheduled 1 and 2 controlled substances license. And on top of that, you then have to get your manufacturer specials license, and then your CQC, which is your clinic license, to be able to deliver. And then bringing those doctors who can prescribe also in the United Kingdom is a very big challenge. So that vertical for us in the United Kingdom was perhaps one of the most challenging parts, which we have successfully completed. So we've overcome that.
Well, then that is not a challenge anymore, but a failing forward learning curve.
Yeah.
Now, Chloe, let's chat policy and regulation. We have under 3 minutes left, but your work in policy and legislative consulting has been pivotal. And according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, as of 2023, 36 states and 4 territories allow for the medical use of cannabis products, while 18 states, 2 territories, and the District of Columbia have legalized cannabis for adult rec use. Now, given your extensive experience with policy and legislative consulting, what do you see as the most pressing regulatory issues facing the cannabis industry today, and how do you think they could be addressed?
We have an over-regulated industry. And we also cannot get banking in the industry because of regulations. And so right now we are looking to reschedule cannabis. I'm sure, as you know, that President Biden, was given a report from the Department of Health, and they are reviewing that and looking to possibly reschedule marijuana very soon. So I think as we go forward, we are pressing toward that decriminalization. We do know cannabis is safer than alcohol, and we really should get to that full decriminalization.
100% without a doubt. I mean, despite the growth and potential, the cannabis industry, Chloe, faces these significant challenges and regulatory compliance and the banking restrictions and social stigma. I mean, the list goes on and on. But innovators like yourselves, the two of you are at the forefront of addressing these issues through technological integration and policy advocacy, which I think is such an incredible feat. Now, the future of Dr. Green NFT. Ricardo, looking ahead, what are your plans for Dr. Green NFT in the next 5 years, and how do you see the role of technology evolving in the industry?
Well, as Chloe mentioned there, the access to good banking for this particular system and the regulatory frameworks that are hard to navigate, I think decentralization is the way forward for a lot of different industries. And I'm just looking over the next 5 years to completely decentralize and democratize actually the transactional side of cannabis and also the patient safety side.
Chloe, we have 1 minute left. Let's chat industry evolution. So having been featured in major publications and named one of the most influential people in cannabis, what are the biggest changes you've seen in our industry, this industry, particularly the cannabis one, over the past decade? And where do you see it heading in the next couple of years?
I think it was so interesting when we legalized medical marijuana, we understood that patients needed access to medication. And all we had was opioids, and we were in an opioid crisis. And as we go forward, now we had recreational on the ballot, and we realized nobody should be in jail for marijuana. And so I think that there's been this evolution. We need to free our prisoners. We need safe access for patients so they don't get addicted to opioids. And we need to decriminalize cannabis, as it is a very safe substance that offers a lot of solutions for many people.
Couldn't agree more. Well, we are at the end, my dear friends. Thank you so much for coming on and being so transparent and full of education. I had a great time chatting with you today.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Guys, blockchain technology is such a powerful tool that can support the legal cannabis industry in so many ways by providing solutions for regulatory compliance, banking access, product quality and safety, supply chain management, and consumer trust. Blockchain technology can definitely help the industry overcome its challenges and, in my opinion, achieve potential like it's never seen before. Now, when you talk about blockchain tech, that can also create these new opportunities and innovations that we've been talking about on the show for such a long time. For the cannabis industry specifically, it's going to enable new forms of financing, which we so desperately need, investment opportunities, tokenizations, like Ricardo put it so eloquently, and even crowdfunding, lending, trading, and just so much more. Blockchain tech is not only beneficial for the cannabis industry, but also for the society as a whole by creating a more sustainable, transparent, and inclusive ecosystem. That was our Cannabis Culture segment brought to you by FinTech TV right here from iHeart headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. That was Ricardo Capone, CTO of Dr. Green NFT. You could head directly to their website at drgreenNFT.com and do check out the beautiful Chloë Villano, founder and president of Clover University. head to their website at cloverleafuniversity.com and check them out on the gram at Cloverleaf University. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by FinTech TV.
FinTech TV, the newest streaming channel focused exclusively on the business of blockchain, digital assets, and sustainability. Broadcasting from our studio on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with daily reports from NASDAQ, global expansion, and 24/7 coverage. Become part of the launch. Head to fintech.tv/invest. fintech.tv/invest.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.